The world was quiet. Too quiet. Cities were alive with people, but every street carried a shadow of fear. The skies above Earth were no longer only human skies. They belonged to the aliens now. Giant ships floated high above, blocking the stars, their massive bodies like black mountains in the sky. People looked up and felt helpless. Humanity had never faced power like this before. The aliens had come with promises first. They spoke about peace, trade, and knowledge. But peace was only a mask. Behind their words was hunger for control, for dominance, for turning Earth into just another world under their empire. And now, their true nature was clear. They wanted everything, and they would take it by force. World leaders had begged. For time they had asked for negotiations, but the aliens laughed. To them, humans were children playing at war, soft creatures who could never fight against the empire of the stars. The leaders of Earth sent one last message, one last warning: leave this world, or face what comes next. The message was sent across space in every language of humanity. It was strong, it was clear, but the aliens dismissed it. They called it a joke on their warships. Commanders laughed at the thought of humans daring to threaten them. To them, humans were ants shaking their fists at giants. In the great alien flagship, their high commander stood before a window that looked down on Earth. His armor shone dark red, covered in alien symbols of victories from 1,000 conquered worlds. He looked at Earth as one looks at prey. His advisors asked about the warning. Should they take it seriously? He raised a hand and silenced them. Humans are weak, he said. Their words are empty, they cannot touch us. And so, the aliens prepared for the final attack. But Earth was not as helpless as they thought. Far below the orbiting ships, in hidden bases deep underground and beneath the oceans, humanity worked in silence. Scientists, soldiers, and leaders whispered together in secret halls. The world's nations, broken and divided for so long, had come together for this one last stand. The people did not know all the details, but they felt the tension. Radios and televisions played the last speech from Earth's leaders again and again. It was a simple message: we have given warning. If they do not listen, we will act. In the streets, children asked their parents, will we be safe? Mothers held them close and gave no answer. Fathers looked at the skies and clenched their fists. No one knew what tomorrow would bring, but everyone knew the warning had been ignored. Night fell. The skies glowed faintly from the engines of the alien warships above. On mountain tops and empty plains, people watched the lights move like slow predators circling their prey. Humanity waited. Inside the alien fleet, celebrations had already begun. Music played in their halls. Soldiers feasted, laughing about the last warning from Earth. To them, this was victory before the battle even started. They believed nothing could stop their weapons, their shields, their technology. But deep in the shadows of Earth, something stirred. Machines no alien had ever seen were waking. Codes were being entered, keys were being turned. Silent signals moved through hidden cables and satellites. Humanity's secret was ready. The warning had not been empty. It was a promise. Across the globe, people sat in silence, staring at the sky. Old men remembered wars of the past and prayed this would not be the end. Young soldiers sat in bunkers, gripping their rifles even though rifles would not win this fight. And leaders sat in dark rooms, watching screens, waiting for the moment to come. The aliens thought humanity had nothing, but they were wrong. Humans had fear, yes, but they also had something more dangerous: hope. And when hope mixes with desperation, it can create something unstoppable. The last warning had gone unheard. The aliens had mocked it, ignored it, laughed at it, but in that laughter was their first mistake. For Earth does not warn twice. As midnight approached, the skies grew darker. Clouds rolled across the land, covering the stars and hiding the alien ships above. The oceans were restless, waves striking the shore like drums of war. Somewhere in the deep night, a single voice whispered, "It begins." And so, the stage was set. Humanity had given its final warning. The aliens had dismissed it, and now, both Earth and the stars held their breath for what was about to come. The last warning was over. The storm was about to begin. The alien fleet moved in silence, yet their silence was not fear, it was arrogance. Above the Earth, their warships floated like shadows carved into the night sky. Black giants with glowing veins of light running across their hulls. Each ship was a symbol of power, built to frighten and to crush. They believed no force in the galaxy could stand against them, and as they prepared for their conquest, laughter filled their halls. The commanders of the fleet looked down on Earth, and saw weakness. They saw humans divided into nations, fighting among themselves, too fragile to resist. To the aliens, the final warning sent by Earth's leaders was nothing more than a desperate cry. They mocked it. They dismissed it. They believed humans were powerless. Inside the flagship, the High Commander stood tall before a vast viewing window that looked down on the blue planet below. His eyes glowed a dull crimson, reflecting the endless battles he had already won. Worlds had fallen before him, worlds greater than Earth, stronger, older, and far more advanced. To him, humanity was a child playing with fire. He raised his clawed hand and silenced his officers. "Let them warn," he said, his voice deep and calm. "It changes nothing. Tomorrow, their world burns." The soldiers cheered. Music filled the alien halls, metallic drums echoing with pride. The arrogance of victory already poisoned their minds. They believed this battle was over before it began. No weapon of Earth could break their shields. No army of humans could stand against their blades. They laughed as they drank, feasting on strange glowing liquids and meat from their conquered worlds. To them, Earth was only another stone to add to their crown of victories. But arrogance blinds even the wisest. Far below, the humans watched the sky. The alien warships were like black scars against the stars, their faint light shimmering, as if mocking the small planet below. Cities trembled at their presence. The aliens knew this. They wanted humanity to feel fear before they destroyed them. Fear was their favorite weapon, yet something was different. Humanity was afraid, yes, but their fear was not the end. It was fuel. Across the planet, whispers spread. People remembered the last warning. They remembered the promise. If the aliens did not leave, something would happen. Something that no one could imagine. The people did not know what weapon Earth had hidden, but deep in their hearts, they wanted to believe. In the fleet, however, doubt began to creep in quiet, almost invisible. A young alien officer walked into the command chamber. His face was pale, his hands shook. "High Commander," he said, "their warning. Perhaps we should." The commander's gaze cut him down like a blade. "Are you afraid of insects?" he asked. "Humans have sticks and fire. We have blades and thunder. Do not speak of fear again." The young officer bowed and left, his doubt swallowed by the weight of the commander's pride. The fleet spread wider across the orbit. Hundreds of warships aligned into perfect formations, black triangles against the stars. They were ready for war. Fighters swarmed out like angry wasps, their small wings cutting through the air. The alien fleet prepared for the final strike. Still, they did not notice. They did not see the quiet movements deep beneath the oceans of Earth. They did not hear the hum of hidden machines buried under mountains. They did not understand that the silence of humanity was not weakness. It was preparation. On Earth, soldiers waited in bunkers, their eyes fixed on screens. Generals whispered into radios. Leaders held their breaths in secret chambers. The people above, the civilians in their homes, sat in silence, watching the sky as if watching their own doom. But all of them knew the truth. The aliens had ignored the warning, and ignoring it was the greatest mistake they had ever made. Aliens were too busy celebrating their own victory to notice the storm that was rising against them. From space, Earth looked small and fragile. To the aliens, it was a prize to claim, a planet to strip and enslave. They did not know the truth. They did not understand that the blue planet had teeth. Humanity had suffered before. Humanity had bled, burned, and nearly destroyed itself many times in history. But always humanity survived. Always humanity found a way to fight back. Now they were ready to fight again. The night deepened. Clouds swirled across the planet, as if nature itself was warning the invaders. The ocean waves crashed harder against the shores. Lightning split the sky in sharp white flashes. The alien fleet ignored it. To them it was only weather, meaningless, before their power. But Earth was watching. Humanity was waiting. The aliens did not know it yet. But the silence of Earth was not fear. It was the calm before a storm, unlike any storm the galaxy had ever seen. The High Commander raised his glass. In the grand hall of the flagship, his voice thundered across the ship as thousands of soldiers roared in celebration. "Tomorrow," he declared, "we end this world. Tomorrow, Earth belongs to us." Yet even as he spoke, a faint signal pulsed deep below the seas. A heartbeat of machines waiting for release. Humanity's hidden strength stirred awake. The aliens had no idea what was coming. The confidence of the fleet was complete. Their arrogance was absolute. But in their laughter, in their blind pride, they had already lost. The last warning had been given. It had been mocked, dismissed, forgotten. But tomorrow, when the first warship vanished without a trace, they would remember. They would remember too late. The night over Earth was heavy. pressing down on every city, every village, every open field. The alien fleet above glowed faintly, its lights crawling like fire across the black sky. People watched from their windows, their rooftops, their quiet streets. They had seen war before, but never like this. The ships did not move with the clumsy weight of human machines. They glided like predators, silent and sure, spreading shadows that touched the oceans and the mountains. Every human who looked up knew that something was coming, yet nothing happened. Hours passed. The fleet remained still. Engines hummed in the heavens, low and constant, but no fire came, no destruction. The world waited. This waiting was worse than battle. It was a silence that choked every breath, as if Earth itself was holding its lungs full of air, unable to release it. Inside the bunkers, buried deep under mountains, soldiers sat with their weapons at their sides, staring at dim screens. Each screen showed alien warships above their region, hovering, unmoving. The men and women shifted uneasily, whispering to each other in low voices. "Why are they waiting?" one soldier asked. No one answered. Perhaps the aliens were testing their nerves. Perhaps they enjoyed letting fear grow, letting it twist through every heart. Far away, in homes lit only by candles, families clung to each other. Radios played the last warning from Earth's leaders again and again, though by now it felt like an echo fading into emptiness. People had hoped the aliens might listen, but now they knew the truth. The warning had been dismissed. Humanity was alone. On the oceans, great waves rolled under the shadows of alien warships. Fishing boats drifted like toys under the giant shapes above them. Sailors looked up, waiting for fire to fall, but only silence came. The water mirrored the glow of the engines, as if the sea itself was trembling under the weight of the invaders. In the forests, hunters and wanderers watched the sky from the cover of trees. They had no radios, no screens, but they knew enough. When stars disappear, when black shapes cover the heavens, it means only one thing: death is near. The alien fleet remained calm. Inside their massive halls, soldiers sang war songs, their voices echoing through cold metal chambers. They were confident. They believed silence was victory. They thought Earth had frozen, paralyzed by fear. They did not know that the same silence they enjoyed was also the silence of something else: preparation. Beneath the seas, machines stirred, buried deeper than any submarine, hidden from every alien scanner. Humanity's secret weapons came to life. Their hum was soft, too soft for alien ears to hear. Lights flickered across hidden consoles, and codes passed quietly through secure lines. Scientists and engineers spoke in whispers. They did not laugh, they did not cheer. They only worked. For them, silence was the greatest weapon of all. In one underground control room, a young operator pressed his earphones closer. "Signal is stable," he reported. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed the storm within. Around him, others nodded. No one celebrated. They had seen the alien fleet. They knew what waited above them. But they also knew something the aliens did not. The warning had not been a bluff. Across the globe, humanity's silence grew heavy. It was not surrender, it was not despair. It was the silence of a hunter waiting in the dark, breathing slow, keeping still, watching the prey grow careless. The aliens mistook this silence for weakness. On their flagship, the High Commander raised his head proudly. "Look," he said, pointing to the planet below. "They tremble, they hide. They know they cannot fight us." His officers nodded, their eyes burning with certainty. "When dawn comes," he said, "we strike." But dawn was far away, and the night still had secrets to reveal. In a small house near the mountains, an old man sat by a fire, listening to the faint hum above. He had fought in wars long ago, wars between men, wars that seemed so small now compared to the shadow overhead. He whispered to his grandson beside him, "Do not fear silence. Sometimes silence means power." The boy did not understand, but he remembered the words. In the deserts, winds howled across empty sands. The alien ships above them were like black moons, glowing faintly against the void. Nomads sat by their fires and watched them, whispering prayers to the stars. They had no weapons, no armies, yet their hearts beat with the same steady rhythm as the hidden machines below the earth. Hours stretched longer. Midnight passed. The fleet did not move. The people did not sleep. The earth itself seemed to wait for a sound that never came. Then, faintly, across the oceans, something shifted. A vibration too low for human ears shook the deep waters. The machines had awakened fully now. Humanity's silence was almost over. Still, the aliens laughed. Still, they believed the warning was meaningless. Still, they celebrated in their holes. They did not know that every moment of silence was bringing them closer to their end. And so the night dragged on. Humanity did not scream. Humanity did not beg. The last warning had been given, and now the silence was their answer. An answer the aliens could not yet hear. When the first ship vanished, they would understand. But for now, the world remained locked in stillness, a fragile planet holding its breath while giants floated above. The silence stretched, deep and endless, the silence before the storm. The first disappearance came without warning. High above Earth, the alien fleet drifted in perfect formation, their ships like black teeth biting into the night sky. For hours they had waited, their presence enough to suffocate the planet below. Inside their halls, soldiers still laughed, feasted, and sang war songs. The human silence was proof of their weakness. The aliens believed victory was already theirs. Then it happened. A ship on the outer edge of the fleet flickered. Its lights blinked once, twice, then it was gone. Not destroyed, not burning, not broken, simply gone, like a shadow erased from the wall. One moment it filled the sky, and the next there was only emptiness. The alien commanders froze. At first, they thought it was a trick of their scanners. They checked the systems, ran diagnostics, called out to their missing warship. No reply came. Silence. Only the hum of the remaining ships filled the void. The High Commander frowned, his crimson eyes narrowing. Report, he demanded. Officers scrambled, pressing glowing symbols across their consoles. It is gone, one finally said, his voice thin with confusion. No explosion, no energy surge, it just vanished. The hall grew colder. For the first time since arriving at Earth, no one laughed. On the planet below, humanity saw it. Soldiers in bunkers, families in fields, watchers on rooftops, they all saw the sudden hole in the alien formation. At first they could not believe it. People rubbed their eyes, stared at the skies, pointed with trembling fingers. It's gone, they whispered. One of them is gone. In the alien fleet, panic rippled like a wave. Captains shouted at their crews, demanding answers. Scanners searched, weapons armed, engines roared to life, but no trace of the missing warship remained. It was as if the universe itself had swallowed it whole. The High Commander stood tall, forcing calm into his voice. It is nothing, he said. A failure, a weakness in their ship, nothing more. His words were strong, but his hands tightened behind his back. Deep inside, even he felt something he had not known in centuries, unease. Moments later, it happened again. Another warship flickered. Its shields sparked like dying stars. Then it too vanished, leaving behind only the empty night. Gasps filled the alien halls. This time, there was no denying it. Something was happening, something beyond their understanding. On Earth, hope spread like fire. Radios buzzed with frantic voices. They are disappearing. The ships are vanishing. In cities, people poured into the streets, pointing at the sky, their fear breaking into wild shouts of wonder. For the first time, humanity saw the power of their warning. The promise was real. In a hidden control room buried beneath the ocean, humans watched glowing screens. Their voices were calm, steady. Target to complete. One operator said, "Prepare sequence 3. Across the dark chamber, others nodded, fingers dancing over keys. They did not celebrate. There was no time for joy. The plan was only beginning. Above, the alien fleet spiraled into chaos. Warships broke formation, scattering to search for their missing comrades. Orders clashed against each other, confusion spreading faster than discipline. Soldiers abandoned their feasts, rushing to battle stations. Sirens howled through metallic corridors. Fear had finally replaced arrogance. The High Commander slammed his hand against the console. "Find the enemy," he roared. But no enemy could be found. The skies were empty. Earth's defenses were silent. No missiles, no lasers, no ships, nothing. That explained the vanishing giants. Then the third ship disappeared. This time the entire fleet saw it. A warship in the center of their formation pulsed with strange light. Its surface shimmered, bending, as though invisible hands were pulling it apart. Then, in a single breath, it was gone. Silence followed, heavier than before. The alien soldiers stared at the black hole left in their ranks. Their hearts pounded, their confidence cracked. "This is not possible," one captain whispered. But the evidence hung before them. 3 ships, 3 mighty war machines, erased without fire or fight. On Earth, cheers erupted. Families embraced in the streets, tears streaming down their faces. Soldiers in bunkers grinned for the first time in weeks. The warning had been real. Humanity had teeth sharper than anyone imagined. The aliens, however, drowned in confusion. They scanned every corner of the skies. They fired weapons into the empty void, their beams cutting through nothing. The space around them was clean, untouched. And still, their ships vanished. The High Commander's voice thundered across the flagship. Form tighter ranks, shields at maximum. Prepare for counterstrike. His words carried power, but even he could not hide the tension in his voice. He knew this was not an ordinary battle. This was something else, something unseen. Another warship disappeared, then another and another. Panic became terror. The great fleet, once so confident, now broke into fragments. Ships scattered like frightened birds. Captains screamed at their crews, begging for answers. Soldiers gripped their weapons, though no enemy could be seen. In the silence between vanishing ships, only fear remained. On Earth, the night sky changed. Where once hundreds of alien ships had glowed like dark stars, now empty spaces stretched wider and wider. Humanity looked up and saw hope carved into the heavens. The invincible were not invincible after all. The High Commander stared out of the window, his fists clenched. His eyes burned with rage, but beneath the fire was something worse, doubt. For the first time, he wondered if the humans had spoken truth, if their warning had not been empty, but a blade hidden behind silence. In the stillness of space, another ship vanished, then another. The fleet that once seemed eternal was fading like smoke in the wind. Panic spread through the alien fleet like fire in dry grass. One by one their mighty warships vanished, leaving behind nothing but silence and fear. The black sky above Earth, once crowded with the outlines of invincible machines, now showed strange gaps, holes where giants had stood only moments before. The fleet that was supposed to bring terror now looked broken, fragile, and lost. Inside the flagship, alarms screamed across every corridor. Soldiers rushed through metal halls, weapons in hand, their once celebratory songs now drowned by the sound of chaos. Officers barked orders, but their voices shook with unease. Screens filled with static, commands went unanswered. Entire ships no longer replied to calls. They had been swallowed by nothing. The High Commander stood before the great viewing window, his crimson eyes burning with fury. His claws dug into the arm of his chair. He had seen wars across 1,000 stars, faced enemies greater than Earth, and never once had he felt this cold sensation twisting in his chest. It was not rage, it was fear. He would never admit it, but he knew the truth. Something unseen, something powerful, was attacking them, and he had no idea how to fight it. On Earth, people watched the panic unfold. They saw the alien fleet scatter, their once perfect formation breaking apart. Some ships turned their weapons toward the planet, firing blindly at empty skies, their beams streaking across the heavens without hitting a target. Others tried to retreat deeper into orbit, desperate to escape the invisible force picking them off. Humanity stood in awe, their fear melting into astonishment. The invaders were afraid. In hidden bunkers, human operators kept their eyes on glowing screens. They spoke in calm voices, far calmer than the aliens who believed themselves gods. Target 6 confirmed, one said, his fingers dancing over the controls. Another voice followed, sequence initiated, awaiting confirmation. They worked with precision, not celebration. Their silence was colder than steel, but above, in the fleet, silence was no longer a weapon, it was terror. Inside one of the warships, an alien captain shouted at his crew, "Find them, find the enemy." His soldiers ran across the deck, their eyes darting to every flashing symbol on their panels. "There is nothing." One screamed back, "No ships, no missiles, no life signs. It is empty." Moments later, their ship shook violently. The walls glowed with strange light. Screams filled the chamber, then nothing. The ship vanished, leaving behind only darkness. The panic became madness. Ships fired at each other in confusion, mistaking shadows for attackers. Beams of energy lit the skies like storms of lightning, tearing through the silence but striking nothing real. The mighty fleet was collapsing, not because of battle, but because of fear. On Earth, crowds gathered in city streets, pointing upward. Children cheered, their parents staring in disbelief. Old men fell to their knees, whispering prayers. Radios buzzed with frantic voices. "They are falling. The aliens are afraid." Hope, once a fragile ember, now burned like fire in every human heart. The High Commander tried to restore order. His voice thundered across the channels. "Hold your ranks, shields up, stay together." But his orders carried less power than before. His soldiers, once fearless, no longer trusted their strength. Each one believed they would be the next to vanish. The chain of command cracked, discipline shattered. Then the unthinkable happened. One of the largest warships, a vessel known as the Spear of Dominion, flickered in the center of the fleet. The ship was a legend among the stars, a weapon of conquest feared by countless worlds. Its hull glowed with crimson light, its engines roared with power, but even it could not resist the hidden force. In seconds, the great spear dissolved into emptiness, leaving behind nothing but the gasps of those who watched. That moment broke. The fleet officers shouted for retreat. Captains screamed overcomes, their voices clashing in waves of desperation. Entire squadrons turned and fled, their engines burning trails of light across the night sky. Some ships tried to escape into deeper space, while others dove lower into Earth's atmosphere, believing the planet itself might shield them, but it was too late. One by one they disappeared. On Earth the people roared. Streets shook with cheers. For generations, they had looked at the stars with wonder. Tonight, they looked with victory. Humanity's warning had not been a hollow threat. It had been a promise, and now that promise was tearing the enemy apart. The High Commander's fury erupted. He slammed his fists against the console, his voice echoing through the flagship. Cowards, stand and fight. We are the Empire. We do not run from insects. But even as he roared, his own ship shuddered. The lights dimmed, the walls trembled, his soldiers froze in terror. Some abandoned their stations, rushing through corridors as if running could save them. The great commander, who had never known fear, now felt his empire slipping from his grasp. And still, the vanishing continued. On Earth, the people waited. They did not know what weapon was hidden in their planet's depths, nor how it worked, but they knew enough. Humanity had teeth sharp enough to make giants bleed. They had been underestimated, mocked, dismissed. But no longer. The alien fleet, once the terror of 1,000 worlds, was crumbling. Their pride had turned to fear, their confidence into madness. They had dismissed Earth's last warning, and now they were learning the cost. Above the quiet planet, warships vanished into silence, and the once mighty empire trembled. Beneath the oceans of Earth, deep where sunlight had never touched, something ancient and hidden came alive. Machines the size of cities stirred in the dark, their metallic bodies humming with power that no alien eye had ever seen. They had been built in silence, away from the gaze of the stars, by hands desperate to protect the planet. They were not weapons of war in the old sense, no missiles, no fire, no explosions. They were something new, something born of humanity's last gamble. Far above, the alien fleet continued to vanish, swallowed one by an unseen force. To the invaders, it was madness. To humanity, it was justice. The aliens had dismissed the warning, believing humans too weak to stand against them. But humanity had been preparing all along. Every vanished warship was the proof. In a control chamber buried under the Atlantic, rows of operators sat before glowing panels. Their faces were pale, their hands steady. On their screens, alien ships blinked out of existence with cold precision. No one cheered, no one shouted. This was not a game, not a moment of glory, it was survival. An old commander stood at the center of the room, his voice calm, almost cold. Proceed with the next sequence, he said. Around him, keys were pressed, signals were sent, and deep beneath the waves, the hidden machines obeyed. The technology was unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. It was not stolen from another world. It was human, entirely human, built from scraps of science, fragments of theories once thought impossible, ideas once buried in old books and forgotten labs. Humanity had taken its fear, its desperation, and forged it into something that bent the rules of existence itself. The machines did not fire weapons. They pulled, they reached into the fabric of space and tugged, and wherever they aimed, matter itself unraveled. This was Earth's hidden hand. The aliens above screamed into their coms, demanding answers. Where are the attacks coming from? What weapon is this? Why can we not see it? Their voices overlapped, tangled with fear. Captains begged for orders. Soldiers ran through their ships, searching for an enemy that was not there, but there was nothing to find. The humans were ghosts in the dark, invisible yet merciless. On Earth, the people looked to the skies and saw the Empire breaking apart. They still did not know what weapon their leaders had unleashed, but hope filled their hearts. They saw the impossible becoming real, and with each vanished warship, the planet breathed easier. The High Commander of the alien fleet stood stiffly, his body trembling with rage and disbelief. His crimson eyes glared at the stars where his ships once stood. Impossible, he whispered. No world of insects could create this. His officers remained silent. They had no answers, only fear. For the first time, the Empire's power seemed fragile. For the first time, defeat hung in the air. The humans in the control chamber did not stop. Ship after ship fell into nothingness, their mass erased, their engines silenced forever. The operators' eyes reflected the cold glow of their screens. Each keystroke was quiet, measured, final. To them, this was not vengeance. It was the cost of survival. The warning had been ignored. Now the consequence was unfolding. Above the earth, chaos ruled. Some alien warships fired wildly into the void, their beams tearing through the darkness with no target to strike. Others tried to run, their engines burning bright as they fled toward deep space. But escape was impossible. The hidden machines reached further than they imagined, pulling down even those who tried to retreat. No matter how fast they moved, no matter how far they flew, the unseen hand found them and dragged them into silence. On the streets of Earth, cheers grew louder. Crowds gathered in the night, pointing to the heavens where entire fleets dissolved into nothing. Radios buzzed with frantic reports. Another ship gone, another one vanished. Humanity had never felt so small, and yet so powerful. For once, the stars did not feel like the home of giants. They felt like a battlefield humanity could win. Inside the flagship, the High Commander's pride cracked. His hands shook as he slammed them against the console. "We underestimated them," he admitted, his voice low. "We thought them weak, we thought them blind, but they hid this." His officers looked at him with wide, fearful eyes. No one dared to answer. The hidden machines beneath Earth's oceans glowed brighter, their humming rising like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Each pulse spread upward, invisible waves climbing through the atmosphere, touching the alien ships, and erasing them. It was slow, steady, and unstoppable. The humans in the control room watched without blinking. "Sequence 12 confirmed," one operator reported. The old commander nodded. "Continue." The aliens had dismissed Earth's last warning, believing it to be hollow. But it was never hollow. It was a promise sealed in silence, waiting for this moment. Now the universe would learn what it meant to ignore humanity. In the black sky, the once proud fleet was no longer an army, it was prey. And Earth, fragile, wounded Earth, had become the hunter. The High Commander clenched his fists, his pride warring with the truth before him. He had never feared humanity. Now, for the first time, he did. The sky above Earth had become a graveyard of silence. Where once hundreds of alien warships had filled the night, now only fragments of light shimmered in the void. One by one, their mighty vessels had vanished, swallowed by an unseen hand, erased from existence without fire or explosion. The fleet that had come with arrogance and laughter now crumbled into fear and chaos. On the streets of Earth, people stood shoulder to shoulder, their eyes fixed on the heavens. For weeks they had lived under shadow, believing the end was near. But now, as the black gaps widened where alien ships had once hovered, they saw hope painted across the sky. Every disappearance was a promise kept. Every vanishing warship was proof that humanity was not helpless. Inside the alien flagship, the High Commander felt the weight of doom pressing against him. His crimson eyes stared at the stars where his empire had stood moments ago. Pride had been his armor for centuries, but now it cracked. The silence of his fleet was louder than any battle cry. He turned to his officers, but they no longer looked at him with respect. Their faces showed only fear. "Hold your ranks," he barked, though his voice no longer carried the power it once did. "We are the Empire. We do not fall to insects." But even as he spoke, the flagship trembled. Its lights flickered. The air itself seemed to twist. His soldiers gripped the walls, terror in their eyes. One whispered what all of them felt: "We are already falling." Far below, in the hidden control chambers deep within Earth, human operators watched their screens. Calm voices cut through the tension. Target confirmed. Initiating sequence. Fingers tapped keys. Signals pulsed through the machines buried in the oceans and mountains. They had no need for cheers or shouts. This was not triumph, it was necessity. The warning had been ignored, and now the promise was being fulfilled. The flagship shook harder, consoles sparked, alarms wailed, officers shouted for shields, for engines, for weapons. But none of it mattered. The unseen force wrapped around them, invisible yet merciless. The High Commander stood tall, refusing to kneel even as the walls around him dissolved. His last words were not commands, but disbelief. "This cannot be." And then, in a single breath, the great flagship was gone. The last ship of the fleet vanished, leaving only silence in the sky. For a moment, the world stood still. On Earth, people stared upward in shock. The shadows that had haunted their nights were gone. The black Scars in the sky had faded. Only stars remained, bright and pure, shining once again over a planet that had nearly lost everything. Then, slowly, cheers erupted. Streets filled with cries of victory. Strangers embraced, children laughed, old men wept. The impossible had happened. Humanity had survived in the hidden bunkers. Operators leaned back in their chairs, exhaustion written across their faces. The old commander in the control room finally allowed himself a small smile. "It is done," he said softly. Around him, no one cheered. They only sat in silence, knowing what it had cost, knowing what it meant. Humanity had shown its hand, and the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The oceans above the hidden machines calmed. Waves settled, the deep hum faded, and the night grew quiet once more. The planet exhaled, as if releasing a breath it had been holding for too long. Across the world, radios crackled with the same message, repeated again and again. The fleet is gone. Earth stands free. People listened, and for the first time in memory, they believed it. Fear had ruled them for so long, but tonight, fear belonged to someone else. On the silence of space, no wreckage floated, no debris remained. The fleet had not been destroyed, it had been erased, as though it had never existed. That mystery would haunt the stars. Somewhere out there, whispers would spread. Stories would be told. Empires would wonder. What weapon had Earth unleashed? What power had humans hidden in their silence? And with that question would come fear. For the aliens who had dismissed Earth's last warning, there would be no second chance to understand. Their fleet was gone, their pride broken, their voices silenced forever. But others across the galaxy would hear of this night. They would hear how a small, fragile world had stood against giants and erased them from existence. They would remember, and they would fear. On Earth the people did not call it conquest, they did not call it glory, they called it survival. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, it would be known by another name, vengeance. As dawn broke, sunlight spilled across oceans and mountains, washing away the shadows of the night. For the first time in weeks, the sky belonged only to Earth. Birds rose into the air, their wings catching the golden light. Children pointed upward and laughed, no longer afraid. The world had been given back to its people. And somewhere deep, beneath the seas, the hidden machines powered down, silent once more, waiting for the day they might be needed again. Humanity hoped that day would never come, but if it did, if another empire came with arrogance and hunger, they would remember. This night they would remember the warning. Earth does not warn twice.